Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Went back to 5 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. Eastern instead of the 2 p.m. It seemed like more people could make it. But time zones are still hard. Yeah, I don't know how better to do it other than just doing like my time zone listed and also listing like whatever UTC. But I guess if I just keep it also consistently at this time, that makes it a little bit easier to be able to see. I realized on the last stream I wasn't streaming in 1080p, only like 720, so I had to change around my OBS Studio settings and like the bit rate and stuff. So if there's like a delay with my mouth and talking or anything, let me know. But hopefully, at least the video quality will be a bit better. Or can you not even? Is my audio not even coming through? Um, it's giving me a warning in YouTube. Um, yeah, well, I guess let me know how the audio is. Hey JF, how's it going? Yeah, it's nice when people have different names on Discord than they do here to actually mention who they are in Discord. It makes it easier to see. Audio's good. Fantastic. Oh, sweet. Sweet. Glad you're here. CFXS. Yes, I like the saying the Discord name. And obviously that means I have to do my Discord plug. If you haven't joined, the Discord link is in the description, I believe. Um, yeah, it should be. And then also something I just recently did that's also in the description is I set up a Patreon. If you like what I'm doing here and want to support the channel, feel free to go ahead. Anything obviously helps. I'm not going to be limiting like content behind a paywall. So it's not like any of this is going to become paid, but if you're able to, I really appreciate it. Hey Johnny, how's it going? Oh, Daniel from Discord. I would have never guessed. You're not in the Discord, then you need to join. Exactly. um, it's so weird why I'm still getting that YouTube warning. So, what I guess what we'll do now is kind of what I've been putting off for the curvy rat's nest lines. You don't know about that? You can change it. It's in all the nightlies. Um, I mean, it's useful. I don't know how much it really helps. Like, it helps for stuff like this, I think, the most. But otherwise, I don't know. I just never really changed it from what it was originally. So, gonna start working on the power pores, which I've been obviously kind of putting off the last few streams, but I do think it made sense to at least roughly flesh it out and then fully do it here. So we have our 3v3 and 1.15 here. The 5 volt powers obviously all of our USB hubs, and that's going to be by far the highest power. Not crazy fast or noisy, but I'm thinking, could you tell me what the price of Library Expert? Oh boy. I have a very mixed relationship with Library Expert. I don't know, man. They have a really cluster of pricing tiers and even understanding which tier you have. I have the Enterprise, which is the highest tier one. It's like, I don't know, $1,000 or something. It's nice, but honestly, if you're just using it to make footprints that then go directly into an ECAD software and you're not using their internal library that stores your parts, which I don't anymore, the free version does all of that. So I don't know. I mean, I stopped paying the maintenance on it. It wasn't worth the price. And they had like a 2021 beta that was supposed to fix a bunch of stuff, but it didn't, and it made it way worse. Like, um, Oh, I thought it was in here. So one thing, yeah, so it does nonsense like this. If you make a footprint with Library Expert Pro, depending on which version and which update, it will make the solder mask not filled. And if you don't, yeah, here too. If you don't catch it and the fab doesn't catch it, you literally get a solder mask aperture like this, which you then have to scrape out with a X-Acto knife. But the tool itself is fantastic. The footprints it makes are amazing. So the tool itself is a game changer for me. But yeah, like you said, better use free. I don't know. I think probably at least at this point, the Pro it's just buggy. But anyway, so yeah, I think the 5-volt pour will just make the entire power pour 5 volt, and then for the 12-volt side, we can keep it kind of over here-ish. Feed the 12-volt on some layer. I don't think it overly matters over on this side. And then I guess really the only thing that we have to figure out is where we get the 12 volt, or how do we get the 12 volt from here over to the 5-volt buck. I think earlier I had mentioned we would just shoot a trace over here, which we're only going to have traces here on the top. So if we just throw it on the bottom pour, I think that works. Let me know if you guys are seeing anything else, because we can't put this over on this side because then it makes it hard to get our 12 volt over for our 1.15, or what is this actually? I have no idea what that is. Oh, yeah, it is. It's our 1.15. So we need to feed our 1.15 into here. So I mean, I guess we can fit it all over here. It's just going to make the board a lot taller. Because if we move this down here, so 5 volts, so if we put our ceramics up here like that, what is that? Oh, that's just a pull down, so that can be pretty much wherever. And we can obviously route these flatter to buy us some room on these electrolytics and obviously the big inductor. So now we need I guess another option is if we were to do, because we have two routing layers that we could do, so we could technically route these on our second signal layer, just drop a via after our power pour, and then maybe we could slide all this right across here, and then that makes the 12 volt just kind of sitting over on this side. Yeah, let me get rid of this. And at least I'll punch a couple traces. USB 3, does that go up? Yes. Yeah, so all of these go up. I just didn't route them before. I remembered it's U. U is to select the entire trace to delete it. Every other stream I've forgotten it. Okay, so those will punch through, and what is this? So this needs VBus detect, but that goes on here. That shouldn't even be over here. Okay, so now the only other thing, what am I setting my pad clearance? Right now it should be 6.6, 6 mil, 6 mil. I don't know if I did it in metric or imperial. So 0.12, 0.12, and then that should be what it is on the nets as well. Yeah, 0.12, 0.12. And that's what it is for the differential pairs also. So the 3v3, it can just grab from here. So that one is good. So technically, I guess this can be rotated. And I'm just trying to make sure nothing else has to go up to the upstream. VBus monitor up. Up goes to VBus, so that needs to go up, but that's low speed. Nice job, Johnny. That's very rare. It's always nice when that happens. Pad, not net. It's all 0.12. Or are you talking about like the uh mask and paste? I keep all of those 0 for now, but at the end I do 0.5.1 and then paste. It depends on what stencil I'm doing, but if it's like a what is it, 0.15, I'll do 0.05 or 0.1. It depends. Okay, so yeah, everything that goes up here we can throw on our second signal layer. So then if we were to take our filter and rotate it here, which side was that? Yeah. And just for anyone who hasn't been watching any of the other streams lately, all of my traces are basically the default size. The differential pairs aren't set up at all how they actually will be, just because whenever I do a layout, I never try to actually do anything final at the start. I'll redo every one of these traces. Does anyone know in KiCad 6? Like I said last time, I don't know any. I know it's not super soon, but just judging by the amount of bugs and stuff there still are, I think we've got a good minute. I think it'll be this year, but I wouldn't expect it till probably the end of the year. Okay, so that's there. So now we'll shrink down the board. 12 volt comes in here. We run it on our input filter. 12 volt gets here. 12 volt for our 1.15 buck, and then our LDO, which takes in 5 volt, right? Yeah, takes in 5 volt. That we can throw right here as well. And what are these? Oh, those are the crystal. And this is just for me, so I don't forget next time I look at it, because I've already forgotten multiple times. So what I am going to do, since we're going to be changing the size of the board quite a bit, I'm not going to bother moving any of the actual pores. Or the edge cut. I'm just going to move everything down. And the only reason I'm doing it this way with my mouse is because it was nice and centered and I don't want to mess that up. Okay. So I'm still thinking we're going to rotate this on 45. That will let us move this whole section down quite a bit. And another thing I don't do until the very end is I will not do any of the actual pores other than the full outer, and these are just samples. But when I want to have like the 12-volt big pore to connect over, that I'll just use as a trace for now. Again, for the same reasoning as before, I don't like to have to spend time redoing or I know I'm going to have to redo traces, so I don't want to spend time trying to make them perfect just to have to change them later anyway. So we put that on a 45. That buys us a good bit of space that we can throw in here. These are right on edge, roughly at least. Yeah, Patrick, that's what I'm saying. This will be on 45. I'm just waiting to do it because it makes all of these harder to align, which is why I always will place it at a standard orientation until then, because if not, you have to rotate each one of these manually. So right now, I'm just looking at what I don't like is if we have the board like this, roughly, we have a ton of dead space. Like, all in here is wasted space, which I try not to have just because, for obvious reasons. Which means probably my idea to have this here is not a good one, because if we move this like that, now we can lower these quite a bit. Yeah, that works better. Oh, and it just moved left and right, so I'll have to recenter them. No biggie, though. Hey, Intermit Tech, how's it going? You haven't missed a ton yet. Just aligning everything and trying to get it roughly compact enough to how it'll be. So we still have a little bit of dead space on this side. Because we can drop all these traces down, but I do not know how much that helps us in this side. Do we have enough space to rotate this? I don't think so. Close. Yeah, that's what we need to do. So let's tighten this up. And again, I know I'm always repetitive, but I really do think it's important. This is yet another example of why I don't do any of the traces until the very end, like final, because it makes it so much easier to be able to make little adjustments like this and not like be like, oh no, I'm having to redo what I just did. That's why I just do them super quick with the assumption I'm going to have to redo virtually every trace. So we can shrink that in. Can't really do anything with the inductor. I did not watch schematic. Do you have DC to DC? And yes, yeah, you're going to need to look back at the others. Yeah, there's $3 on here, I think. $2. So 12 to 5, and then 5 to, or 12 to 1.15. And then this whole section is the input filter on the board. I don't have an input filter for each buck. That's something I'm pretty excited about. One of the EMC videos I'm going to work on is doing some real world test of a single filter versus a filter for each buck. Either or, as long as they're done correctly, I think you can make it work. Extra space for MT logo. Yes, exactly. What's funny, I was just thinking about that the other day, since everything we do is for like contract work. I don't even have a silkscreen logo. I've never put one on a board ever. Which, if I start trying to sell some of these or just whatever giveaways, I'll actually be able to put my logo on stuff, which will be nice. So yeah, this is why does your KiCad looks like this? It's a nightly build. It's like 3 weeks old, but yeah, the nightly looks completely different. I'm hoping AI can help with minor changes. I mean, I don't know what you're referring to specifically with AI, but yeah, some of the stuff that KiCad does or doesn't do is a bit of a pain. So obviously this breaks these traces. I just want to see. Yeah, that's a massive improvement. It does make our 12-volt routing a bit more of a pain now that it's so compact here, but it gives us the ability now to move this down pretty freaking close. So yeah, I mean, we've taken out a lot of space. So then really the only area that's wasted is right in here, which it kind of has to be. As long as we can put the mux pretty far down, that's not going to be a huge deal. And we can always move the 1.15 regulator over here because all that's doing is taking in 12 volts and outputting 1.15, which is this pour. So it really doesn't matter where it is as long as it can get the 12 volt, or what does that take in? Yeah, it does take 12 volt. So yeah, either position I think works. Anyone have any thoughts on positioning? I'm thinking before I do any of the power connections, I'd like to finish the mux up with the blocking caps just to make sure that I get it as close as possible, because this is going to be kind of the limiting factor on how exactly where all the power side parts will go. Okay, I'm gonna delete these traces. One not that we're here yet, but one trick that's super nice that I learned from Gary, he does our layouts on our actual boards for work, is when you're doing like trace matching and you have either a series resistor or like a blocking cap, if you try to measure the trace from like that side to this side and you click on it and you look down here and you get routed length, it'll only show one side. So what he will do is go in on the schematic and short all of these out, so then he can connect these straight across. Then when you check what the length is, it'll show the entire length and you don't have to add each one of them up, which saves so much time. I never knew that trick. Okay, so DC away from logic. Yeah, for sure. But keeping all of the everything's going to be referenced straight to ground and it's all differential pairs. I don't think it'll be a huge deal. So there's one reason why the a filter on each buck would be helpful, because the input of each buck is obviously going to radiate. But I'm thinking as long as we can keep it all above this, which we should be able to, I think it'll be fine. And that's one of the reasons why obviously all of this stays below. But yeah, certainly that I agree with. Because you could throw like even just a little ferrite at the input of each of these, but we have pretty good decoupling or bypass caps on the input side. I think it'll be fine. And I'm just gonna actually, I guess I'll route them as differential pairs, unless if they don't want me to. Yeah, I don't know what has happened to differential router on here. Like, how does it think? There's where you need a little bit of AI to prevent it from doing nonsense like that. Shorter distance to power supply, stack up. Stack up. Why not change layer 3 with layer 4? Because then your bottom layer isn't referenced to a ground return, it's referenced to power, which I mean works, but you're typically gonna have more noise and especially common mode noise on that power plane, where here signal 1 and signal 2 are both referenced to the second layer, which is the ground return. So that is going to be where all the differential pairs are routed on one of those two. And then the bottom layer is referenced to the ground here. It's an asymmetrical stack up, which as long as you keep copper pores on all the layers, the fab house won't care about. Back in the day, that might have been something that they wouldn't like, but nowadays it should be fine. 3 with 4. Isn't that what I did? 1, 2, 3 with 4. Oh, well, that does the exact same thing. But since I'm jumping, that's actually worse because since I'm jumping my differential pores, my differential pairs from the signal 1 to signal 2, if I swapped them, then the reference plane for the bottom differential pair here would have to either jump to the power or it would have to be referenced across it to ground, which neither of which are ideal. And yes, obviously, differential pairs, they're going to be less nitpicky than if this was all single-ended, but you still want to keep a continuous. What is this? I don't know what this is. So that's our V bus, which all V bus is used for is to. What is V bus for on this board? Oh, it's just for the V bus detection on the mux. Yeah, longer reference, exactly. Yeah, this is a asymmetric stack up, which you don't see much. Honestly, pretty much all of the stack up info and everything, I used to base it off of a lot of Henry Ott, but a lot of his stuff is a little bit outdated, and pretty much everything I go off now is more from Rick Hartley. His is way more like modernized, if you will, and this is one of the asymmetric stack ups that he likes, and I certainly like it as well. Okay, now I have to remember how I swapped all of these, and what I'm doing is just so this would be going here, this would be going here. And it's just a TVS diode, so until KiCad lets you change the net and back annotate it, I'm just going to change it on the schematic. Rick, yeah, Rick Hartley. He does a lot of Altium live talks. That one it did okay. Some books from Rick. Unfortunately, to the best of my knowledge, he is not an author. Everything he does is lectures. But actually, here, give me 1 second. I will throw up a recommendation that I read not not too long ago, maybe like 6 months to a year ago, and it's one of the best books I've read in quite some time. So it's called Grounds for January, so pretty good. Yeah, 6-7 months ago. It is really, really, really good, and it it's called Grounds for Grounding, but obviously grounding and return and reference layers are pretty much the most important part of high speed logic. So yes, it's technically just about grounds, but it covers everything. Yeah, how to achieve proper grounding. That's the one that Rick Hartley is probably the most famous for. That Grounds for Grounding book is freaking amazing. John, you're using his VCC ground. Yeah. Exactly. That or the ground on the outer. And what you're talking about, VCC ground, it's VCC and signal on each layer. Pricey, yeah. Well, not many people buy them. They don't have a choice to make it expensive. But if you don't want to buy that one, just like I said, watch Rick Hartley's lectures. They're fantastic. TX goes there. RX. So these two need to swap the RX side. Don't you love it? You have like a 50-50 chance of having the TBS nets correct. And every single one of them I had to replace. It's like, yeah, that figures. And here you could yeah, actually, I'm gonna change that back, and on this one I actually was right. So I think I'd rather make this one a touch longer and wrap around. We'll see if it messes up. You don't really have to length match these that strict. And having it not go through a via probably is better than not changing having the route a little bit longer, but we'll see. Because the issue is, obviously, this RX is now a lot longer than the TX is, but we'll see when we get to that point where we're changing all of these. I'll see how far off it is, and then we can always just throw a via and drop it through here. Okay, so obviously... Oh, yeah, and these crisscross, right? That's such a pain. Then it did that double click nonsense. There's going to be so many double drill hits on this board. What is that complaining about? Oh, there's a bottom floor. Okay. Yeah, that's really messy, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, CC2 and CC1. And the way I do this, I didn't like explicitly say, but obviously always start with the USB 3 lines first, then do the USB 2, and then once those are done, then you can do like the CC lines, which are completely irrelevant. So I will probably drop a via. Yeah, right. It is crazy. The not even bang for your buck because it's free, but the what you get in an open source software like KiCad. It's pretty insane. Like it's gonna get to the point to where it really doesn't even make sense to use anything else. It's not there yet. I think it's getting close to Altium. It's certainly nowhere near like a Cadence or something of that caliber, but I don't think it even really needs to be. Okay. That is super messy, but um oh, these two should switch, obviously. And then that alleviates me needing even to do any of that. Um and then don't know if we can do anything else here. What's the state of Altium? Um, I don't know. I mean, it's still about the same. They've gone to a subscription model as an option. A perpetual license got a quote. It was like $8,000, I think, and then you have to pay yearly if you want their library manager. And then if you get the monthly one, it's like, I don't know. That was like 1,000, 2,000 bucks a year, something like that. Oh, for sure, yeah. Cadence is only all of those are only for companies, but so is realistically Altium. Okay, so let's throw this over here, and I'll go back and fix that. I don't really care about it. The biggest waste, in my opinion, is OrCAD. Their whole goal is just to get you into Cadence. They always do their like $500 a year special. I would absolutely, if anyone's thinking about looking into OrCAD, you're way better off with KiCad. We use it on every now and then if a client requests it, but Altium's probably worth the money. I like Altium, but OrCAD's not worth the money. No way. Yeah, unless you're doing, and I mean, I used to say like real high speed stuff, but it's like we just recently did a SD-RAM, which I mean, it's not crazy fast, but it's a fast single-ended interface, which requires pretty accurate length matching. It did fine. I mean, this is pretty high speed. It's gonna do fine. I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you're doing like DDR stuff, or like a computer motherboard or real anything, I guess that you have to do a ton of simulation. But even then, if you're doing a ton of simulation, Altium's only gonna help you so much before you need like a cadence. So I don't know. Yeah, if you get a student license, Daniel, then that would certainly be nice. I mean, it's obviously good to have in industry. I mean, while there are companies out there who use KiCad industrially, I mean, we do obviously, but there's not a ton other. One of our bigger clients, one of their engineers who I work with directly, he uses KiCad. So it's like there certainly are companies out there. They're just kind of few and far between. And I don't think it's at all because KiCad's not good enough. I just think it's people think, oh, it's a hobbyist free uh, tool. We're a company. We can't use a free tool. And it's like, okay, that's lined up. And all the boards we've done using KiCad, and I've talked to the clients, they've never even thought twice about it. I mean, yeah, sometimes we've been asked to use something else, which in that case, if it's what it's in or whatnot, you don't really have a choice. Yeah, I mean, it's the stigma for sure. Okay, so that's all good. I don't even think we really need a ESD TVS diode on the V-bus, but I guess since it's here. So bad. Okay. And that goes down here. And then this we will obviously want as close as we can get it. Oh man. So I guess it is gonna force me to swap these over, which is actually good that it's going to work out that way. I was kind of worried that some of these wouldn't line up. Okay, so I really don't like this pressing U, then delete, U, then delete. I like just the lazy selection where you would just hit delete over it and it would delete all of the trace. It just takes longer, like a lot longer. Yeah, I mean honestly the reason why the the primary reason why we use KiCad exclusively, I mean, yeah, having to buy multiple seats, that's not pleasant, but with a business, I mean, it's expensive, but it's not unreasonable. The biggest thing is honestly simply the fact that so much of what I do is the YouTube stuff, and doing it in Altium would obviously cut that down, the audience, and I don't want to have to be constantly relearning and remembering everything. So I mean it, and I've never had really a time where I'm like, crap, I wish I had done this in Altium. So I don't really see a huge need, at least for me. Like, why is it so bad, this router? I don't get it. I just didn't hear that they changed that much in the new nightly. Okay. That's good. Now let's move these over. And it's like there, it does that like absolutely perfect. It's like no rhyme or reason. Discord's popping off. Okay. So we've got this, which works. Okay, that one did good. Oh, this is only through whole vias. There's no need for blind or micro vias here, at all. That's only when you're doing crazy tight spacing. Altium router feels more. Oh, by far. And obviously the router is one of the big things with a ECAD tool, but the router something's wrong. Either I have it configured wrong or something, because in the live version it's not this bad. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so we have those. Now hopefully these play nice. Oh, these are flip-flopped. I was like, why in the world are they not working? I guess it was only a matter of time before that happened. So can we fit in between here? Yes, we can. Oh, it's gonna let me do that. Okay, that's pretty cool on the router. I didn't think it would force it to do that, but then it ends it in such a goofy way, so maybe I take back my praise. The regular router was almost unusable. Yeah, and that's why I haven't said it on this stream, but I absolutely don't use a nightly for any of our production work for the reasons we've been saying. It's not going to be stable enough. What's the benefit to keep the differential pairs close together? Well, you have to have the impedance between them a specific value. For this, it's 90. The impedance needs to be 90 ohms. The size and spacing right now is completely arbitrary. Because like I keep saying, these are just roughly routed. When we do the final layup or final routing, then I'll use a calculator and make sure all of these are correct. So it's not a benefit of keeping them close, it's what you have to do. You can change the size, the width of the trace, and you can change the spacing. Where if they were single ended, then you can only change the width, or you change your stack up, obviously. But that gets expensive not using a standard stack up. Come on. So it's like here it has to be there. Yeah, I don't know why they changed the. I think that's why it's clumsy right now. Yes and no. I mean, it should be able to enter each via correctly. I don't know why it isn't. But like I said, it very well could be I have some sort of setting set up wrong. It depends. With what you're saying with Rick. There's a lot of different views on routing differential pairs. I always just go with the standard stack up and try to keep the impedances correct, but that's for people way smarter than me to argue about. You can get really deep into some of this stuff. What I always say, and my goal with both work and this channel is just to do all the practical side and only go into as much theory that is required to actually like build useful boards. Okay. This is gonna be a bit of a pain. It's gonna be a lot more painful than I thought. And again, like I said, the USB 2.0 and then obviously the CC pins, we worry about those last. Because CC is literally just a high-low logic. It doesn't change. It's just to see the orientation. And USB 2.0 is obviously way slower than our 3.1 Gen 2. So We have 2 decoupling caps on our 5-volt and 2 on our 3v3. Where are 5-volt? Okay, only 1 and only 1 on opposite sides of the board, of course. Okay, just wanted to get these here to avoid like exactly what this is showing. I'm gonna have to adjust. Oh, is that really? So they did another really goofy thing just like this. How the USB hub doesn't have a single ground pin for power other than the thermal pad. This does for the 5-volt, but for the 3v3 there's no ground pin next to it. That is strange. So the only loop that you can do is connecting it to the via back here, which it's like, man, I don't like that at all. What other tools you recommend? Yeah, I mean LT Spice obviously. I use that a bunch, and for my EMC series, I'm going to be using that a ton more. I don't know if you were here earlier when I was talking about the library expert. The footprints it makes are fantastic. Um, Paying versus free, I don't know, but yeah, I love using that. Okay, so and they really goofed this up. So many times the IC fabs, they just don't think about actually routing it because we literally have to have our decoupling in between 2 differential pairs. So we either make the decoupling cap take precedent or we make the differential pairs. What I think I'm going to do here is we're going to put like a 3v3 port over here, and then we'll have the 5-volt. And I'm going to add like 4 or 5 more caps and just make them kind of distributed all in here and tie them to the pour, because there's no way we can have it close, and I don't want to take away that much from the differential pairs here. What chip is that? HDS 3SS 3220. Should have known that off the top of my head. Okay. 2TX. So those will go down on here. TXN, TXP. Then that goes down. This is the stuff that and I've mentioned it in the past. I don't do a ton of our layouts. I do the schematic side. Stuff like this is just what gets kind of frustrating. So our one side of the mux is over here. So we're gonna have to via all of these. And then where's our So our 2.0's on this side. So we can move our 2.0 around here. And now these two are flip-flops. So now we have to find a time to get these traces on the inside. Which, probably just a via right here. But we can squish all this down some. So let's get everything else thrown in there. So what are these? These are pull-ups, just bootstrap like configuration. So those don't really need to be in any specific spot. And then those will just drop down to our 3v3 pour, obviously. And now this is another bootstrap pin, so this doesn't matter. And it's like they put the ground pins. Yeah. I mean, it's just the way that this is used. Obviously, your downstreams are here using the same footprint or the same package. What they should have done is have all of your upstream differential pairs here, your downstream differential pairs here. You have spacing to put a ground pair in between each. Then you can put your 5-volt and 3v3, and that would be so much easier to route with. But of course they don't do that. There are some ground pins for the 3v3 above that. Put vias close. Yeah, so you're saying put the 3v3 caps over here. Yeah, I mean that works. And essentially it's what I'm going to be doing when I distribute these. It's just the fact that we're going to have a larger loop no matter what we do here. I'm going to want to have a few extra and just kind of sprinkle them. But yes, I do agree. So I'm going to move this. This is just another one of the bootstrap or configuration pull-ups. So there's no need to put that so close. So yeah, good. Thanks for mentioning that. So then, yeah, we can throw one of these here and then the other one, whatever. And then we'll have a couple others. Okay, so that's good. Our CC. And it's like they put, like it's asinine. They put the CC pins on the downstream side. There's no possible way you could route this in any coherent way. I say that. Let me pull up the data sheet and see if they have a suggestion. I'm gonna doubt it, but you never know. Dang it, they don't have the layout guide. Oh boy. We froze up, boys. I think this happened last time with one of their data sheets. It's something when you try to open their data sheet on in the browser. I don't know if it's necessarily just them or something with my browser. I don't know. Is my pinout wrong? Because this looks exactly like what I was describing. There could be girls here. Though I have to say, I've looked at my YouTube analytics, and just because even with rounding, it comes out to 100% of my viewers, it says are male. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to say it's pretty overwhelming, but you never know. Okay, so that goes upstream. Yeah, because this is upstream. It's showing all on the one side is downstream and all up here is upstream. So, good thing I checked the data sheet. So, yeah, something's wrong here. Okay, so let me just take this, move it so it's orientated, get rid of the rat's nest. Oh, yeah, my number one pin. So you want to know why Library Expert can be a pain? Case in point, it made pin 1 here when it should have been here, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30. Though I guess in a asymmetric. Yeah, and look, what's funny is they did exactly how I said they should have, having it left and right on the width side. All right. So I wasn't going crazy with how bad of a pinout that was. You can tell I'm not doing the layout in advance and just like referencing it. Okay, so let's trying to think what's going to be the easiest way. Okay, here, I'm going to have to put this on the other screen. Okay, so oh, I don't even have a number one. So there's like a renumber tool, right? Yeah, renumber. So first pad number 1, does that? But I don't know if that's going to keep my name. We'll see. Wait. 10. Okay, yeah. Though in Library Expert's defense, with an asymmetric SO, or I don't even know if that, yeah, QFN, this is kind of goofy. Okay, so now let's see if it kept the name. Oh no, yeah. What am I thinking? The symbol. Okay. So wait, did that change, didn't it? What did it just go back to how it was? I'm not going crazy here, am I? Because I renumbered it with this being 1, right? Um, I don't know what happened. Oh, I pressed exit to cancel. I have to double click to commit. I just saw press exit. Okay, double click to commit. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it's like what's funny is like even oh boy, now I've done it. Like if you look at here, 9, 10, 10 is technically closer to this pin even though this pin is 11. But whatever. Okay, so save that. Now let's update selected. pin 1. So if we rotate, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, okay. We are good. Now time to virtually redo everything we've done here. Oh yeah, look how nicely that lines up now. Always something. I should have known better. TI doesn't usually make ICs that are that bad. That's more of like a, I don't know, on semiconductor. They do some goofy stuff. Your desktop is atrocious? What do you mean? It's not that bad. It's not good, though. What I usually do is when it gets this bad, I make a folder, and I name the desktop, like, the date, and I put all of my shortcuts on that, so it's completely clean. But when that next one gets full, then I will make another date and put that, so I have, like, 4 times nested dates in there. But it makes it so you never lose anything. My computer at home is a lot better than this. This one I've just kind of neglected. Okay, so let's move these. These. It is really funny how literally the way that this IC actually is the exact same way that I was saying they should have done it. So I think what it is with this router, it doesn't like when it doesn't line up going into the pad. So you almost have to like do it in 2 separate ones like that, and that works perfect. Yeah, what's funny is the way I started doing that folder thing is I think I read about it online somewhere that that's what they do. I'd like looked up how to clean up your desktop and someone said, "Oh, I don't even bother cleaning it up. I just nest folders." I'm like, "Pretty good point." But still they do put the CC pins on the wrong side. So let me check their example if they are doing it that way. So 2 type C, so let's rotate. So these are the CC. Why do the CCs just go to whatever that is? Or is that a... I have absolutely no idea what that is meaning. Because pin 1 and 2 should be CC. One and 2 are CC. I guess it would help if I had and actually knew what this evaluation board was. Yeah, test point's the world's largest. Yeah, I don't know. I get test point makes sense, but it doesn't show it actually going back up, which is bizarre. Weird. Okay. Oh, okay, so we still have the issue with these traces being on the wrong side. So, yeah, there's not going to be a great way to do this. Is there any other spot I could flip these? So this is the same thing. I could maybe, it has a alignment point. I don't think I could route it over here. Maybe I could route one, but then that splits up the differential pair. So this is something come back to and see what other option we have. Because that keeps we're able to keep the spacing okay there. We could cross these, but we still need a via. Can't you run the TX under the... Oh! Good call. What's funny is I did that earlier on it. And, okay, I'm not double-clicking this time. I don't know why it's double via-ing for some of these. That makes absolutely no sense. It's really frustrating, though. Fab is not going to like me on this board. God, it doesn't let you join up on these either. There we go. Much better. Good call, Daniel. Okay, since I'm trying to get this as compact as possible, I hate having to keep redoing this, but this is kind of important for the rest of the board. We can take these, rotate, and that's going to save us half the length of that resistor. Problem is this. It's going to depend how tight I can turn these. Okay, so I can do that. That definitely saves room. And then as long as we can duck this out. Because obviously I can go straight there, but that breaks the pair a little earlier than I would like. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. It's a much worse layout doing it that way. Doesn't save that much space either. Someone's got to be awake. Though it's not even late here. It's 6 o'clock. A lot later where you are. Okay, so that's good. Oh, it's ironic. This side even is like set up perfect for this. So yeah, this IC configuration is like perfect. Other than the stupid CC pins. But I guess in their defense, keeping it this, it wouldn't even really help having the CC pins right here. I don't think it does that much. Okay, so that goes down. That goes down. Oh yeah, and our 2.0 goes around. Okay, so this goes there. That goes with the blocking caps, UTC3. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'm like an old man. I go to bed so early. Okay, so we just have to flip-flop these. That's no issue. So now let's get back and do all of our pull-ups. Yeah, exactly. I thought he was out to get me. But it is funny, some of them. Like, again, this one, granted it's not TI, but the fact that they don't have a ground pin for each of these, I don't understand it. Doesn't make it harder to route, it just EMC wise, signal integrity, it won't be as good. Okay, those are the pull-ups. These are the decoupling caps, which these you can tie to the ground. Another thing I'm going to be doing on the EMC series is when you do caps like this, you get mutual inductance between these two capacitors, and technically they lose effectiveness like when you line them up like this. Same with how I have them here. They're less effective, and the theory is if instead you rotated them 90 degrees and had these drop down into the port. Oh, what did I do? I meant it a via. Instead had them tie into the pore right here. You don't get. See, why does it do that? I gotta ask on the KiCad Discord, why is it automatically throwing in a bottom ground via? I don't know. But when you flip flop them like this, you don't get that mutual inductance, and they're supposed to be the overall inductance is going to be lower, which is true. But what I wonder is if the effectiveness isn't still worse because it has a larger loop. So that's one of the things I want to test. Okay, so that looks good. And this is how I always do it. So if it is noticeably worse, that's certainly something I want to change. So that's not a ground pin. That's a configuration ground. So these are the actual ground pins. It actually makes it more reasonable to do the I forget whoever had mentioned doing the decoupling caps both at ground. This actually makes it a bit more reasonable. You can choose to which layer. Yeah, I get that, but why yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's something I'm doing wrong on this. There's so much to get used to. Oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real fast. I will be back. All right, sorry about that. It's all that water I'm drinking. Okay. So we have these dropping down. CC still need to connect. Another configuration that can go here. What is this? That's just a series resistor for the... Okay, so I see why they did it on this side. They have the CC pins here and the line that goes to the V-bus detect. They do it on here so you can route it around without it getting in the way of any of your differentials. So that makes a bit more sense. So that goes there. We'll do the CCs first. Now these are blocking caps. They will go down there. Now what are these? Oh. Just add a little capacitance to the V-bus. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely extra. For something that's only used for a detect pin, we don't need that, but it is there. Okay, so that goes inside, and now here, I will absolutely do it on the bottom layer just to keep it away from any of these traces. Because obviously we don't care about the signal integrity of our CC pins. In something, I forget when it was. It was, oh, of course. I think it was in, it was in a voice chat that we were doing in a Discord the other day. It's one of the reasons you should join. You get to do voice chats. And it came up talking about like 2-layer versus 4-layer. And I mean, I know this is 6, but and one thing I was saying is and it's so true. You can take someone who's like never done a PCB layout before and just has some general knowledge. If they are to start doing a 4-layer board, that board will be almost guaranteed better both layout wise and signal integrity, and definitely EMC, than if they just did it on a 2-layer board. So yes, 2 layers are going to be cheaper, but unless you're doing big production, the cost really makes... How did that happen? It almost always makes more sense just to do a higher layer count board. 2-layer boards to pass EMC is quite tough. I mean, certainly it's doable, obviously. Why not run those CC lines right under the chip? Honestly, the reason I did it this way is because of what I mentioned. But there's actually 0 reason why I did it that way. Yeah. You're batting 2 for 2. I like that better. And I'm gonna... Like, look at this. There's 3 vias that got put here. 4 vias. Like, how does that even happen? 2 vias here. And I'll one-up both of you, though. So, like, I want to see if that gets a double hit via. And what I'm going to do is tie into this instead of doing an extra via. And which side is this CC on? Outer. So yeah, that works perfect. Like that. So now, how many vias were put here? See, 2 vias. I don't understand that. Now there's one, and it did 4 vias. Is anyone possibly seeing what I'm doing wrong here? That's got to be a bug. Maybe I need to check the latest nightly. This nightly's a few weeks old. Okay, so those CCs are good. We have our USB 2.0. Oh, that 2.0 we're gonna have to make no, I guess that's fine. Never mind. Yeah, we'll route it on here. I thought that was gonna be an issue, but that's fine. Okay, where are the 2.0 lines? Right here. Okay. So all of this is good. So now we can go ahead and slide. Actually, let's put these here. Yes, I'm not I'm not paying for the extra drill hits there. The only reason it matters is and this is something that used to be more of an issue back in the day. It would mess up some of the Gerber tools for fabs if it's called a double hit. So like there's two vias that'll be on your Gerber for the same spot. Typically nowadays they just ignore it, but in the past it would cause issues. And I think even the new KiCad DRC catches it. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys heard that. There's like a big storm building outside. Oh, and I don't have a battery backup for my network here. I do at home. I need to get one. So if I lose internet for now, that will be why. Gotta love Florida afternoon storms. Okay, so that needs to crisscross. So this, I'll do it under here just to, I guess, make the discontinuity a little bit less. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click one time. Now exit. Okay, that time it didn't. So weird. Oh, you could hear it? That's funny. Yeah, I have a, yeah, so you're going to start hearing them pretty bad. It's getting nasty. I have a noise filter for OBS Studio. I was wondering if it would filter it out. Oh, and these are swapped, aren't they? Yes, they are. Of course. What's funny is I'm listening to YouTube music, and I don't if any of you do that, if you watch a YouTube video, it'll stop playing every like 30 minutes and say, "Are you still listening?" because you're listening somewhere else. I guess because I'm streaming, it thinks that I'm watching a video also, so it keeps complaining to me. What's that? What in the world? Is it because I'm too close? Like, that's some differential pair routing. There we go. Yeah, it does not like when that spacing's a little off. Okay, so now all of that is sorted. So now we can move this down. And of course, I'm going to need to move this to make it closer. Right. Are these two flipped? Yes, those are. This is where it gets messy. Okay, so let's maybe start then. Put this here. Look at that, it literally won't count that. Oh, that's a good route right there. It's like it doesn't even try. And it's all because the spacing of these two caps are just a tiny bit off. Yes, they need to be one wider. All right. Okay, so now this one, we're going to have to do that same thing we did before. But let's do it the other way to keep it away from that other. I got you, Daniel. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know if they fixed it. It's my fault. I need to be better at updating nightly. It's almost like they update it every night. Like this. This shouldn't happen. It's like it should fix it to be the same height instead of them putting on the little stubs. It's doubling up because there are two line segments being terminated. Notice there's only one via when there's one trace. Oh, I think I get what you're saying. Yeah. Like, this is another, like, this is clearly a bug now on this, too. Like, it would have kept it at the full width. It's just strange because some of this stuff, it's like, I didn't read in the change logs that they were messing with it this much. Doesn't really make sense why there would be. But to whoever asked how long till KiCad 6 is released, this is the type of stuff I was saying. I still think we have a minute. But it's cool that they have the nightlies available so we can test them before they do an actual release when it would matter if there's an issue. So like that one there, okay, yeah, so that one there was only the single via. Okay, so those are flip-flopped as well. So let's move our via up here-ish. And then let's route this like that. See, like that. It gets confused knowing that they need to be closer in. Still. This is probably the biggest bug I've seen so far with the router because this is bad. If you think that the spacing is correct and you do an entire route, it's not going to be because it's trying to make it closer until you force do it that next time. That's the only one that I've seen so far that's an actual issue. All the others really are just an inconvenience. That one could actually mess you up. Okay, now these go here. Man, who would have thought that the mux would have been this much harder than the other. Will you do live streaming on system on module board design project? What are you specifically referring to system on module? Oh, these are flip-flop too? God, every single one. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look on the data sheet after this live stream if I remember. Some of these will allow you to flip the positive and negative differential pairs, or if someone wants to look right now and it can handle them both, that will be nice because then it doesn't matter if these are off. Could it be the net class setup is differential pair gap? Yeah, but the issue is it knows that it needs to make the gap to what it needs to be, but it's letting you route it at a wrong gap until it's able to get to the correct one. So you could do an entire route with it wrong, like this. It knows that the gap needs to be this, but it would let you do the entire differential pair at a completely incorrect width, which, for obvious reasons, isn't good. And I'm not pointing all these out like complaining, saying, "Oh my gosh, they need to fix it." It's more so just that I guess if you're using this like here, it's doing the same thing. If you're using this for an actual like important project, just be careful because there's still a lot of issues here. Like I said, it's super cool that they released these to be able to use. God, this one it is not liking. It's like forcing me to try to get the spacing. Okay, whatever. We're going to be redoing all these anyway. And the last is this. Yeah, so single via there. It's like there was an attempt. Okay, that one it did a single via. That one I would have thought it would have done a double hit. All right, so that's ground. That's not filled because... Oh, actually it is. Never mind. This because we have islands here, which we don't care about right now because we're doing our vias later. Okay. 3v3, we'll have our 3v3 pores here. 3v3. What is this rat's nest? Okay, that's 12 volt needing to get over there. Sweet. Okay, that feels nice having that side done. And just, I haven't mentioned directly in a while, the whole reason why, like, this is on the bottom layer, yet I'm keeping all the differential pairs on the top or the, what I'm calling sig 2, is because each one of these differential pairs, even though it's a differential pair, they're not going to be perfectly balanced. So there is going to be some reference to our ground pour. And since we're referencing the same return on each one of these, if we swap layers, we're not changing our reference. So it's much, much better for high-speed lines to keep it on the same reference plane. Whereas our CC lines, those are just like a static voltage, which way it's flip-flopped. So we throw that on the bottom layer, it doesn't get anywhere near interfering with any of our differential pairs, and it still lets us speaking of which, this should be on the bottom layer for the exact reason I said. I don't want any of these to be on our main routing layer, except obviously the top. So let's throw this here. And I mean, this really doesn't matter that much, but just keep it consistent. Okay, good, 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 good. All right. Some base main processor exposes a. Yeah, probably not. I mean, again, that's super like vague. I mean, that would be way more of even an involved series than this. Um, okay, so that's done. So one way or another, we're still gonna have some empty. I forgot CC1. Ah, good call. Oh, and that one actually isn't great. So that one actually definitely needed to be changed because you don't want it to go under here, even though it's not a gap in the return. Okay. So let me know, guys. What are your thoughts here? We've got our 3v3 LDO. Our 3v3 LDO powers just these two. And then 12 volts. So I guess what I'll do first, since the easiest thing is let's do a pour for our 5 volts. So at least we can knock that out. And I do solid connections at first. I don't do any thermals. I'll adjust those later on, just because I think it makes it easier to see when they're all solid. And now there's going to be a conflict with our pour here, obviously. So this one needs to take precedent. Oh, wait, did I not have? Yeah, power copper. Let's make this priority 1. So this will fill over the other. Okay. So that pour is 3v3. Now this one is 5 volts. So now 5 volts is generated here and drops down. So maybe let's redo these differential pairs real quick just to get it out of the way here. He just pushes them away like, nope. But yeah, it definitely has to do to it's very, very sensitive to the angle that you enter on a corner. If it's at anything other than like dead straight, it won't work. So I am getting used to this one, but they'll fix it. Jeez, it's still bad out here. Why is that not going? See, because it's not, it won't let me just adjust. So weird. So now we have to make this go from here and let it join on that. So, yeah, I mean, when you get used to it, it's not that bad. And ideally with these, and again, it doesn't matter because this isn't the final spacing and width. Differential pairs, you want to have neighboring differential pairs at least twice as far away as the spacing in between them to make it so they will couple to each other a lot stronger than they will each other. So you don't ever want to have them right next to each other, but it's like anything with this, the farther away you can make them, the better. It's never going to be a bad thing to have them too far away. So that's another thing. We'll just change on the final route. And what is this? Oh, those are not connects. I like the little X, that's helpful. Oh crap, I forgot one here. How did that go before? Okay, so now we need to do these two. I don't know how I missed those before. Hopefully we're gonna have space before the inductor. Um, it's gonna be pretty close. No, we're not. So that means we would obviously have to adjust how close these are, or we could move the inductor up. I think it's easy enough to move these down. Especially this one, I could have it way closer there. And since we're not actually needing to keep that close, why not just move this one here? And that should be all the room we need. And when I'm doing a bunch of these longer routes like this, I'm not really talking about that much. So if you guys have like questions or anything, I'm sure I can focus on answering those while doing this. Because that's the one thing that's kind of annoying doing a live stream of a layout is there's so much that's just like mindlessly routing. Okay, now two more. Now we have plenty of room. It doesn't care about polarity. See? I figured it was gonna say that. Thanks for looking that up. Yeah, I should have known better. That's how most of those are. So that's obviously gonna make the mucks a heck of a lot easier. Yeah, that's what I figured it would say. But yeah, I appreciate you looking that up. That's definitely gonna help. In what he's saying, what that means is on all of these where I had to swap around, it doesn't matter what goes in. Or actually, sorry, on this side, I don't know. Maybe it's the same on the hub, but for here, we can just have these run and we can swap the P and negative here. So we don't have to worry about them going in the correct orientation there. Because all it is, differential pair, you're just taking the difference. So as long as they can handle that in their silicone, which, like I said, I'm pretty sure probably most of them can, it doesn't affect anything. Okay. Oh, and I guess realistically, this should probably could get moved over and then we could straighten those, but don't care about that for now. So then, like for this, now we can just throw a via, and now that grabs into the 5-volt pour. For these, we can do the same thing, and that ties it into 5 volts. Here, via 5 volts, so now those won't be complaining. Now we can do the same here. Look at that pad entry. Okay. What else is 5 volts that it's complaining? Oh yeah, our 3v3 LDO. Okay, so now Via's pushing routes around. Is that a newish feature? Yes, that's actually something you have to throw in. So you can have highlight collision, shoves, or walk around. Walk around sometimes is useful. I like shove the most, and then interactive drag or move item. But for the interactive drag, what you have to keep in mind, so like here, if I hit M, it lets me move it wherever. You actually have to drag it, and then it'll move them around. One of the biggest, I would say, honestly, one of my biggest complaints on the routing side of KiCat, other than the bugs on here, is if you shove one of these, and I don't know if they fixed it here. That looks pretty good. If it's something they've been talking about, they would fix. So maybe they did. Yeah, it looks like they did. So that's awesome. Oh, no, they didn't. So watch right here. See how it splits them apart, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm dragging? That is a massive pain. So the interactive drag works, but you cannot at all trust it. So kind of take it or leave it. Okay, so we've got our power here. So maybe move this here, so now we can grab all of this. Down here. Okay, that's not going to be that poorly utilized space. So our only thing is getting our 12 volt over on this side. We obviously can't use the top layer because we've got a bunch of routes. We can't use the other guy's question about doing the SOM. Yeah, I did answer it. I mean, honestly, this USB hub has turned into way more complex of a project than I was expecting. But I don't know, maybe another long-term project down the road, but I'm not anticipating anything like that soon. KiCad, yeah, focus group. It is funny when I mention bugs here. Usually the next nightly or two, they do end up getting fixed. So maybe someone's creeping on here who either is a developer or talks to them. We can't do the signal. Does this use 5 volts here? 3v3. Yeah, so this will be the trickiest part so far of the board, at least from what I'm gathering. We're kind of short a layer here to do this easily because we have to have 3v3 here. We have to have, where else does 3v3? We have to have 3v3 actually in this whole area. So we can extend our 3v3 pour to cover this. That works fine. But our issue is we have to take the 12 volt from this side and throw it on this side. But we don't really have a layer to do that. Unless we do it on the bottom layer and just shove it right across here. Yeah, the complexity. For a YouTube project, about as complex as I ever want to do again. Complexity as for what, like, work-wise I do. I don't know. I mean, it's complex. There's no programming, so I mean, it's not bad. Yeah, so I'm thinking we would do this. 12 volt. Obviously, we dodge our vias here. So 12 volt comes over here like this. Wherever. So 12 volt goes there. Then 12 volt goes to our 1V15. 5 volt grabs here. So this supplies our 3 volt to this pour. Our 1.15 supplies to this pour. And we're done. The only issue I have with that approach is this bottom pour is going to be dodging a lot of vias. And it is going to be kind of a noisy pour, but it is separated from our signal layers by our ground 2 layer. So I think that works okay. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking is the best approach, because one way or another, 12 volts is going to have to be on both sides because we don't really have room to keep it all over here. because of our big filter. Unless we off-centered all of this and then moved this over here. But I don't think we have the space. Um, maybe. Maybe that's an option. If we slide this stuff over here some, and it doesn't have to be that exaggerated, just enough to where we can then move all of this here, then all of our 12 volt is on this side and it stays away from all of our logic. So if we can do that, that I would much, much, much rather do, because then we don't have any of that noise on there. I think it's worth trying to find a way to do that, because that will make this a much better layout. But I think that is where I'm going to end it for tonight. This wasn't the night I was supposed to do the live stream, because I've been doing every other weekend, but I'm enjoying these and I kind of want to knock this out. So I'm probably planning on doing one next weekend. But I'll post about it on Discord and on YouTube. If you haven't joined Discord, do so. It's in the description. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely let me know, comments, Discord, whatever, any project ideas or anything for future. And like I said at the beginning, I did set up a Patreon. If you like what I'm doing here and you'd like to support it, the links in the description and on Discord. I really appreciate it. But I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.